Hey everybody, Carol here. Today I'm going to be making another impossible card, and I'm just showing you very quickly how you start out making this card, but I'll have more instructions later on in the video. But this is a card that I made another card very similar 2 videos ago, if you want to go back and look at it, and I just made it a regular card. Today I'm making it an impossible card, and it's using the same stamp set called Dapper Dad, and it's great for Father's Day or any time of the year. But the difference is, one of the differences, I'm going to stamp this whole impossible card, which I make a 5x7 with ink and a background stamp. So I want the whole page covered, front and back actually. And this stamp is called Big Print, I believe. And I did it in 3 different colors. I did it in 2 different grays and 1 black. But what I did was, on each one, was stamp it off once. You can see off to the right there, onto scrap paper to dim it and lighten the color a little bit. So there are the 3 cards, and they're different colors, and I will show you now how I do. I make a 5x7 card, landscape style, and these little templates I made, the bottom half of the card, I draw a line around that template, comes to the 3.5 mark, which is half of 7. Then the top half, I make these little tabs that can be any size. I make mine 1 3/4 inches. But all of these lines, they're just the 3 lines that I cut to the middle of the card, which is 2.5, which is half of 5x7. Now what makes it impossible, you flip that bottom part to the back, line up the top edges, give it a good mash, front and back, top or bottom, however you want to say it, and that middle section stands up, and it looks impossible that could be 1 sheet of paper. But you see how easy it is. Now this stamp set, it's a watch and a shoe and a bow tie. I'm going to stick it onto an acrylic block, stamp it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I love it because it's a good crisp black. It is a pigment ink as opposed to a dye ink. And I'll stamp this off, and actually I've stamped it several times and have extra copies, which is what I typically do. If I've already got a stamp inked up and dirty, I might as well put some others in the back in a bag somewhere for future use. Now I'm also going to be using this close to my heart little bitty alphabet stamp set, and I'm going to write out the word Dapper. Now that A there won't stay on because it's been used so many times, I guess, but you need to check and see if you're lining your letters up correctly. When you turn it over, you can see if the print is right and not backwards. So I've inked it up, stamping it also, just to show you the process. And I purposely don't line my letters up. I like them because it's too difficult to try to get them to line up correctly anyway, so it just looks artsy that way. Now, here I'm going to start putting this card together. I've cut out all those little parts, the bow tie, the shoe, the watch, and I've put them aside to glue, for the glue to dry with Tombow Mono Multi glue, because when it goes on wet and white and then it dries within a few minutes, once it's dried, then it becomes repositionable, and that is just very, very helpful because you can move things around and not tear anything up. And so there's the shoe. I chose the medium gray card to use, and then there's the watch. I will flip it back so I can work on that center section, and there again you can see how that is 1 sheet of paper, but I like mine to be interactive so the recipient can flip it backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And so I had a black piece of paper that had glue on it ready to go, trying to center it there on that center piece and get it lined up. But the beauty of the repositionable is that you can pull it up. I'm having to pull that up so that I can see if it's straight, because I can't see from that angle. Then I did a red one, just slightly smaller, and I go around all my pieces with this neutral ink. I use Sahara Sand, but you know, just a neutral ink with the makeup sponge, and it gives those pages, even the whole outside of the white card and all the lines in between, gives them a finished look, kind of frames them off. And then the little bow tie, I did the same thing with it, and the shoe and the watch, although it didn't show too much with the black edges. But as I did on the other card, the other Dapper card that you can go back and look at 2 videos before this, I made 2 of them, and these are easy. I decided to cut them out because they're very easy to cut out with just their straight lines all around them, not a lot of wiggly lines. On this one, I did a second one, and I put the glue right there in the middle of the bow tie. Now I'm kind of bending it same way I did on the other one, if you saw it, and making it 3-dimensional looking, but it's only glued right in the middle. So I'll try to hold it up so you can see the dimension on that. That's not necessary to do it, but I like the look, and it's very little effort. And then on the right hand side, when you flip it back to make it the Impossible card, that's where the watch is. But if the recipient keeps it flat and wants to keep it flat or flip it back and forth, I want there to be something of interest on that side. So I decided to put another watch, and you will see that. Just another watch, and then that leaves room to write something to the recipient, or put a saying, a stamp saying, like Happy Father's Day, or thinking of you. Now I made, for the first time, I made a little note, and I'm gluing it onto the paper because I have room on this card, and it just says, well, I'm just showing here, you could write the word love, and then I also pretend to write the word happy up in that corner, just for an idea. But and I'll explain what those things are off to the right in just a second, but I'm going to zoom in so you can see this note, that if it comes in the envelope and they get it, you can put it in the envelope either way, it'll fit either way. It says flip this page backwards. You could also write a separate note inside the card, just tell them how to maneuver an Impossible card. But so flip this page backwards, and I always say put my thumb on that big rectangle and push it back, flip it back, whatever word you want to use. Now I wanted to add another dimension, so I cut out some strips on the paper trimmer. I measured them pretty much, made them all the same width, pretty close anyway, and cut out a bunch. I didn't know if I wanted red or black, but I decided I like black. So the ones up in the top of that yellow page have glue on them already, and they're ready to go. So I'm going to put this black edging around the card, on the front part of the card, and give it an edge. I just think it gives it another dimension and a real finished look, and a nice look. So I put it on 3 sides, 3 edges on the left, and 3 edges on the right. And you might say, well, why didn't you just glue that all down onto a black piece of cardstock? And I thought about it, but when you flip that and make it interactive, you will have a black side, a total black side, for the other side, which is fine, because then if you wanted to write something, you could put white cardstock on top of the black cardstock. But I just like this look, and it was easy enough to do, and it certainly doesn't use a lot of paper. So that's something else you might want to think about. But so then I cut those strips extra long to be sure, and I'm bringing over a piece of contrasting piece of paper, that yellow, so that you can see those little edges sticking out on purpose. I didn't want to come up short, and then all you have to do is go back and just clip those off. So there's a card with the edge on it. Then I also used a die of letters, and I'll show you that die in a minute. Whatever you have, maybe you have a punch or something, but I wrote Dad, and it's a little easier to put them on with the tweezers, although I have to handle them a little bit to get them into the tweezers. And I wrote the word Dad. So you can look at it as Dapper Dad, or you can just say Dapper on one and Dad on the other, or You could write somebody's name, whatever letters, whatever you wanted to fill in with up there. But that is the finished card. That is the front and the back. I didn't put the black edging on the reverse side. I want it to be different enough that you can tell it is different. But I'll show you very quickly. This is what it would have looked like if I had used the red, and see which one you might like better, just to give you an idea. It's all very versatile, very many choices, as you know, in this world of art and making crafts. Many choices, sometimes too many, right? So anyway, and then too, if you wanted to, now you can see how that bow tie sticks out in that picture right there. It's definitely a raised surface, and I like that, dimensional. And but you can write a note on the back of that bow tie if you wanted to. You could add another rectangle of solid white and glue it to the back, which is what I usually do, and write a note on it. Now here's the alphabet die that I used. It's Sizzix, I believe. I turned it over there, and that's just to show you what I used. Now all these extra prints I made, I'm just putting them down here for fun. Those are the 3 cards. Dapper Dan, these are guys that I know that I've sent cards to over the years, family, friends, and if you have a friend that's name doesn't start with a D, you can always have Dapper Dude. And so I just did those with those same alphabet letters, and once you get it set up, it's very easy to make multiples. And you could put it up there on the upper right, you could put it down on the lower left. There are all kinds of things you could do. So have fun. I'm going to show some still shots and let you see them, and I hope you enjoy this. I hope you'll go back and look at the card, just a regular card of the same stamp set, and some of the other impossible cards that I have, and I hope you'll enjoy them. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.